Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast, and what a way to start Christmas week. Rovers take the early gifts as Millwall fall 2-0 at Ewood. Leland starts and impresses as fans are calling for more youth to get their chances. Good Johnson continues his fine form with a goal as Ohashi also finds himself on the score sheet. But Rovers now travel to Borough on Wednesday as we hope the team continues to give us that Christmas cheer. Obviously, I'm not on my own, Mark. Do you have a good weekend?
Always a good weekend when Rovers win. I'll be honest, it unnerved me a little bit. It was a new feeling. I didn't quite know how to cope with it, but it was long awaited. Let's just say that. Yeah.
Have you had any Christmas parties that you've attended over the last week or so, or have you got any more that you need to go on?
No, not really, mate. I've finished my Christmas shopping though, which is a big one. Obviously, some people decided to do it on Saturday instead of going to Ewood, but yeah. Got all that just wrapping now. Absolute rubbish. Does my head in and dropping stuff off, presents, cards, and then also the world conspired to give me a present of 4 brand new tyres needed. So that was a wonderful present that I just really wanted about this time of year. Yeah, where are you up to? Is Mrs. Beaty looking going to be delighted on Christmas Day with her socks, candles, flowers?
Mate, I'm genuinely struggling to finish the presents off for her. I know that she's got me a smoker because the delivery man decided that he was going to put it in the porch, and it was one of these where it's not actually like a box in a box. So I opened my porch and there was just a smoker there. So I was like, well, brilliant. That's my Christmas present sorted. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I've got to think of something extra for her. So that's on my mind. Everyone else, I think it's sort of Christmas parties wise. I mean, we've all got different groups of mates, haven't we? So like you go with one and then it's another. I try to get it all on a similar weekend because I'm not a massive drinker. But yeah, I ended up getting a bit toasted after the Blackburn game. I'm not going to lie to you, it was a good one. It was a good one. So
why the hell not?
Yeah. But elephant in the room, obviously, we go and watch the Millwall game. It was empty. There was only 11,657 there.
Yes, it was noticeably quiet around me. It filled up just before kickoff a little bit more. But there was a point 5 minutes before kickoff where I'm going to put the video out there. It was empty. I didn't notice people staying away from the bars and the eatery hatches and stuff like that too much. I know a few people have put online that they were closed in and around the ground in certain ones of them. But yeah, what I would say is if people are doing that, without going into the politics of whether I agree with it or not, my understanding is Sodexo bought the catering contract basically for Blackburn Rovers, and Rovers then get either a fee or whatever. So I don't think not buying stuff in terms of on the concourse will hurt them too much, although Sodexo won't be very happy. And certainly the eateries outside, you've got local businesses like Finch Bakery. That's not affecting Blackburn Rovers. So please, if you are going to try and not buy things, please, if you're going to do it outside the ground, don't include them on it. They're just local businesses. That will be nonsensical. But yeah, it was noticeably quiet. It was.
Yeah, I think it is a good time for us just to mention that again that we're not going to fall one way or the other because like you've said before, we don't want to influence people's decisions. It's very personal to them. So we don't really want to get too much into it. So we don't want to influence people. We've had people ask our opinions, and we have got our opinions, but we just don't want to advertise them because we just don't want to influence people's decisions. That's not what we're here. We like talking football, and we appreciate the fact that obviously we do talk about the business side because that affects the football side. But the football side treated us this weekend, and we go and get a lovely 2-0 win. And this was our initial match reaction.
We've won at home. 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 Not much quality on the pitch, but what there was, I thought, came from us. I thought Matty Leland did all right, particularly first half, did some nice things. Thought Pratt played really well. Pickering showed why we are right once again, and he should be the one that's playing pretty much all the time. Unless it's Sir Ryan of Hedges, of course. They look better in midfield, obviously, today. Bare bones, but I thought we deserved the win. You always get a bit twitchy at the end for no reason because they didn't show us anything other than the fact I can't remember the last time we won at home. So, job done. Merry bloody Christmas.
Well, this is why we love and hate the EFL so much in equal measures, because we go and win a game like that 2-0 and you start looking back at other games and thinking, well, if we'd just done this and that and the other in the other games, we would have been so much better off. But that's football. Great to get a victory there. I'll be honest, I'm a bit surprised by it. But Millwall gifted us the goals, but you have to take those chances. What I loved about it was Leland. I thought Leland's performance was fantastic. It's another youth player that we've given him an opportunity to, and they've taken it with both hands. You know, look at Pratt. He's just taken his opportunity really well. But yeah, really, really chuffed with us finally giving that youth player a chance. Because what it does is it takes the pressure off the team. It allows you to rotate your players. But also, the players coming in, those young players, as fans, we don't put them under as much pressure. And we're just excited to see one of our own coming through. So it feels like a bit of a cheat code sometimes when a manager does it, because they know that the fans are probably going to be that little bit more supportive for those players and be, you know, just cheer that little bit harder. And it was great to get that goal early on. I think it settled it down a little bit. But let's be honest, we dominated a pretty poor game. But I'll take it, mate. I'm not going to start picking away. I just hope we build on this now because, really chuffed with that victory. Yeah, I came away quite happy. I mean, I've looked back into it a little bit more since then. I think what the point I'm trying to make there is you messaged me the team sheet because I was coaching at the time, and I feel like when you're playing a young player, as fans, sometimes you question it and sometimes you think, is this a bit risky? But actually, they do get a little bit of a free pass from the fans when it comes to frustration compared to a signing. So if you get a new signing coming in and he doesn't quite do it, you're like, oh, come on, we've spent X amount on him and he should be doing this, should be doing that. What's Rudy doing? And we're just throwing everything at everyone. But when a young player comes in, I think you feel slightly energised. You feel kind of youthful yourself, watching them. And I do feel like it gives a bit of a free pass. So when I did see Leland starting, I was surprised. But after I'd seen Pratt do as well, I was kind of excited. What was your vibe when you saw that starting lineup, especially with the other young lad? I'm not going to butcher his name. I'll let you do that on the bench as well.
Yeah, I think my initial thought when I saw the bench in particular, Nathan Dlamini, I believe his name is. He's not somebody who starts regularly for the 21. So I thought we're filling the bench up here because I think the 21s have played the night before as well. Matty Litherland's someone that's been on the cusp for a while. He's been on the bench a few times. He's had a sniff a couple of years ago. He's somebody who's captained the under 21s before when George Pratt was out. For about 18 months, he tended to be the captain. Now, I've seen him play as a centre-half a lot for the 21s, and I've thought he looks comfortable on the ball. And I've seen him play right-back. So I presumed he was going to be either side, him and Pratt would be either side of McLaughlin, and Miller was going to be the solution to Alibiosu. So it was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because we're obviously losing Alibiosu for a period of time. That was the big debate. Who's going to play there? Now, I feared he will go Gardner Hickman, and I've seen him there for about 20 minutes, and that was enough. He feels a bit like playing Jason Lowe back in the day at wing-back. Marishta has done that in his career, albeit not the most defensive players. I could have seen the logic with that. You know, we've got, ironically, we're a little bit stacked now in the middle of the park, and I thought that's what he was going to do before I saw the team sheet. Having seen the team sheet come out, I thought, wow, that's risky, having two young lads either side of McLaughlin. But he's obviously thinking Miller's going to be the solution. When I saw them lining up, I thought I was concerned because when I've seen him at right back before, he doesn't seem to have the natural athleticism, shall we say, to play that role. I was very, very wrong. I thought he showed, for somebody who's naturally a defender, I thought he showed some real promise going forward. He showed a willingness, a bravery. I was really impressed with him, I think, particularly on a debut, because it's a mentality thing as much as anything. Those lads have been playing football. You know, they're the lads that at school were the best ones by a million miles. They've been playing the academy. He's been captain. He's obviously done very, very well and not suffered many setbacks. He'll be able to play football better than you or I can. He'll be able to play a five-a-side, rondos, absolutely comfortably. You get him on the pitch, and it's mentality that you're looking at. And I thought the way he's done an interview since, hasn't he, saying he was a bit nervous before, but once the game started, the nerves are gone. And that is exactly what it looked like. He looked like somebody who went, do you know what, I should be here. And fair play to him.
I think that's the thing. We forget that these players have been playing all their lives and it's second nature to them. They don't have to think about a lot. And maybe there was less pressure, the fact that, you know, there was a bit of a boycott going on. We've not been in the best of form. And we don't know how Ismaël... We said last week, you know, we wasn't sure what Ismaël was necessarily good at. And it wasn't us being really harsh. It was just trying to figure out what is he actually good at. And maybe he did motivate them. Maybe he has said to the likes of George Pratt and Leland, you know, just go out there, relax, play your game. There's no pressure on you. It's my decision, not, you know, to put you in there. It's on me. And he started so well. He had the opportunity at the start to get down that wing, and he had a nice little pass with Marishta. The goal comes. And I think that early goal then settles everything down, and it just plays into the whole storyline, the whole situation, to make it easier for them, for these young lads to come in and actually play. And let's be honest, Millwall gifted us both goals. The second one was obviously a much bigger gift than the first, but the first was pretty poor on their front with how it was dealt with. But what a finish by Good Johnson. It's something that we said at the start when we saw him play. His instincts and natural positioning was something that you could just tell. And now I feel like other players like your Marishtas, your Ohashes, that are up there with him, I think they kind of know the kind of movement he wants as well. But this one was just full on instinct, be in the right place, get that area, and when the ball comes, just give it a whack.
He's, he's got 4 in his last 7, I think it is now. I heard somebody at weekend saying, no, he doesn't do much other than score. I disagree slightly, but even so, we've missed one of them for a while. I think you're absolutely right in terms of the early goal really settles it. It was interesting how Leland played that role compared to how Alabiosu does. He tends to just drive for the wing because obviously he's rapid, knocks it past them, tries to cross it in. Leland was playing it more intricately, almost how Marishta plays that right wing role when he's done that. And there's a lot of experience around him. He had Miller behind him. Marishta's very, very experienced. Campwell's obviously in there, very experienced. Tronstad's very experienced. Ohashi. All them were around him. He was really cuddled on that side. And I think we've got to give some praise to Ismaël. So they've had a week between the game. He has clearly worked on the patterns of play. I thought that was very clear. Leland knew exactly what his job was, what he wanted, what he didn't want from him. And they've worked on that for a week. There's no way they haven't. Everyone knew where each other should be. And I thought that helped him. He had clarity of what he should be doing, what his role was. And I'm also going to praise Ismaël for the fact that he gave Pratt a rest. So he gave him 45 against Oxford. I think he took him off at half time. He looked tired. We were saying that. He didn't play him last week. He's brought him back in. Right move. And I thought he was outstanding, George Pratt. I really, really do think he looked better in the first team than I've ever seen him in the 21s. He looked at home there. Looks good on the ball. He looks calm. And I think you've got to give the manager some praise for the way these players are coming into the team and looking not phased at all. You've got to give them and the academy praise, obviously. But I also think it helped Leland because Tronstad's back in. You know, he was everything Millwall didn't have, wasn't he? He was calm. He just steadied the ship. Marishta looked good. Campwell looked good. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't the most amazing of performances, but just clever footballers doing little subtle things to really help him out. But you're absolutely right with Andre Johnson. That I have no doubt when that ball goes in the box, he's going to score. And I've not had that feeling for a long time.
No, and it seems like he's got a maturity about him with how he plays. It's not necessarily rushed. Everything seems to be a little bit more calculated with him, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see players snatching at things, and he has done. He's had his moments, but we're not talking about the finished article here. He's someone that I do feel he's going to get better. If we're being honest, his future is going to be elsewhere. So what we've got to do, we've got to give him his opportunities to really develop, help him, kind of thing. It was a really weird first half for me because the goal settled us, but I didn't feel like Millwall offered that much. And I looked at the stats after. So my first instinct when I first watched the game was I didn't feel like it was ever really in doubt after that first goal went in. Mainly just because I just got that feeling Millwall weren't offering anything. And then obviously they then gifted us the second goal. But I looked at the stats and their stats were actually pretty decent. I mean, there were similar kind of shots to us. They had more possession. Their pass success rate was better than us. They had more dribbles. They won more aerials. They had more corners. It was just really strange. But was I wrong feeling that the game was kind of in our hands?
I mean, I think we've got to be honest. It was a really poor quality game in terms of actual individually on the pitch. It was lacking it. I mean, they had an awful lot of injuries. I don't know how much people know about Millwall's injury thing at the minute, but they make us look like we are flush with players. I think that was something like 10 midfielders they had out. So they have people playing in there that never play in that position. But they looked lacking in energy, didn't they? And I think for me, it was all I was just concentrating on what we were doing. And you're watching the game unfolding, and I'm thinking, right, I've been here before a lot this season, 1-0 up at home. What can we do? How do we do this? And it felt like you needed the second one. Didn't necessarily feel like we were carving them open or like the opportunities were coming and we were missing them. And I didn't feel, in terms of the flow of the game, like we were under pressure. But I just felt, I've seen Alex Neil teams before. There's no way they're going to be this bad after half-time. He's going to get into them. He's going to make some changes. We need to take advantage while this game there's not much in it. So when they then presented us with an absolute gift and we took it, from that point on, I felt calm. I thought, no, that is the difference. It settled us down. This game's fine now. I really did. I had this weird, serene feeling until it got to sort of about the 65th minute. And then I looked at us and I thought, we've taken our foot off a bit here. And we almost looked like we thought the game was done. And that's just a dangerous place to be at, because it's very hard to turn that back on. And that's when I started to get worried. I'm thinking about what's and ifs more than what's actually happening on the pitch, and thinking, if they're going to get one and they have a real surge of adrenaline, I don't know if we can get back up there. And I could then have seen them going on and getting more. But in reality, very little happened in the second half. It was it was a game when teams are playing an awful lot of football. They've had a lot of changes. They've had a lot of injuries. And my overriding feeling, Mike, coming away from it was the Championship is really poor. I'm watching the very few teams or individuals have I seen now this season. We've pretty much played everybody. And I just look at them and think, the standard in the league is poor, because I look at us and think, we're not great. But yet we've been in every single game.
And I think that adds to our frustration in general. The frustration of if things had just been handled better previously, if we just managed to build on the squad that we had last year, we could be in a vastly different situation. Yeah. Every team's going to be feeling the same. It's not just us. But you've got a game like today where Millwall, sorry, not today, but we're talking about, that they handed us the game, if we're being honest. We got quite lucky in that situation, but there's other games where if it just gone a little bit better for us, and I get that, but it was really frustrating. And I mean, football in general is going down a path I don't like. I don't like the fact it's all about athletes and less about the actual technical ability of football now. But yeah, it's just like I say, adding into the frustration that we can win a game 2-0 and still come away thinking what if about the other games. We'd just come off a run of form, which wasn't the best, but like you say, every single game we was in it. And whether we can blame refs or whatever, there was just decisions that by us or by them that put us in a situation where we're still down the league. I mean, I looked at the league table and we're still down in like 17th, 18th every time I look. We're going to get a good result and we're still there. And that's why we added to the frustration. But anyway, so going into the actual setup, the Campwell Marishta positions was what was confusing me, because it felt like Campwell should be sat further back to Marishta, in my opinion, but it looked like they'd put Marishta a little bit more on the right to kind of support Leland, and Campwell was kind of in the hole.
Yeah, there was times when, as the game flowed, where Marishta was almost alongside Tronstad, but I think the idea really, and when we had the ball, it was more Tronstad sitting, Marishta on there, and I get that because I think Marishta flows quite well in those positions. I don't feel it was a coincidence that we were able to just relatively comfortably win this game. They made errors, but yes, we had Matty Leland, who's a young lad, and but Pratt's had a few games now. But we had experience, and we actually had more technical footballers on the pitch than athletes. Marishta, Tronstad, Campwell. For all their strengths, one of them isn't really that they are massive athletes. When we talked about us being bigger, faster, stronger this season, you don't think of them three immediately. The other difference was Harry Pickering. He came in, I felt really worried for Harry Pickering, not because he's not a good player, not because I wouldn't have had him in pretty much every week, but because it was another game where he's played no football for months and then he's whizzed in and go on, perform. But I was delighted for him. He showed everything that we know he is. 7 out of 10, did all the simple things right, supported Pratt, was able to come into the middle of the park when needed, gave us some options going forward. And I just watched it, and I was watching thinking, why has he not been playing? And I think that one single decision to not play Harry Pickering and play Deneva in the times he has impacted them 4 games. Go back to the Watford game. He brought Pickering on to see the game out when Hedges couldn't run anymore. If he'd have made that same swap when he's been bringing Deneva on, those 4 games would have had a different outcome for me. And so as much as I'm praising Ismaël for this game, I think that hopefully has solidified these things in his mind. And I know we want to bring in new players, and whether that's, oh, look at us, look how clever we are bringing these players from the Belgian league, and don't neglect the people you've got at the football club. And that's another thing I think we have to talk about here. The other elephant in the room is Tronstad. He started the last 5 games he started, Rovers put a stat out, we've won. He was quietly superb again at weekend. And the fact his contract is running down and people keep saying, oh, he wants to move back. He denied that. People seem to forget that. He denied that he does want to move back. That was put out there. I can't remember what it was, but he said that's never been said. I've never said that. It's news to me. I just think you've got to be securing people like him down to deals, because he's so crucial. Even more so when you want to bring young players in. Having those little experienced, calm heads is massively important. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to have the balance. And Pickering was someone that we said was our first choice left back, left wing back for a good season and a bit. And obviously there was other people that came in. Ribeiro came in and was solid, but we always felt like Pickering was that left side. That was him. Obviously Hedges was kind of in front of him with that formation. But yeah, we've been big fans of Pickering on this, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall of the conversations that were had in the background to kind of understand what the Pickering situation was. I was going to bring up Tronstad. I can't add any more to what you just said. I thought he was superb again. Again, he's a player that I like to bring up a lot, because he was someone that when his career started, we was thinking, what's he bringing? What's he offering? And he slowly settled in and became a very solid player that was doing a very big job for us. And like we said, you've got to be pinning these players down, and the chances of him being with us next season is just getting lower and lower and slimmer, and that's a big issue for us, because I don't want us to be constantly rebuilding when you've got a player as solid as he has been. in that midfield. So I completely agree with you there. I want to bring up George Pratt. He's taken his opportunity so well. We've talked about the situation he was in with his injury, and the club's stuck with him, signed a contract when he was injured. But he can't have even been close to expecting to be where he is right now. And he is slowly becoming the starting player. And you start thinking, okay, well, when these injuries come back, when Scott Wharton comes back, you've got to assume that Scott Wharton's going to come into that position. But have you? Because George Pratt, he's got youth on his side. He's been very solid. Is he now our player now for the future? Or is it going to be that as soon as Wharton's back, we're going to look to potentially loan him out next season again?
I'd have him starting from now on. Scott Wharton will come back into my team, but he'd replace McLaughlin, who I actually think's done really well recently. I think that the strange thing with George Pratt, and similar to Matty Leland, so they've both been captains of the 21, but they've never been the highest rated player in their own position. George Pratt has been a captain because he's a leader, he's big, he's strong. But actually, Max Davis, who's a couple of years younger than him, if not 4 years younger than him, I think, is 6'2" also, left-footed, good on the ball. He's always the one that people talk about, say, oh, well, you wait till he gets near the team. George Pratt was almost a bit of a filler in that position. He was just the older one. And he was the one that people played alongside. Matty Leland played at right centre-half. But actually, people were talking about Tom Hitchenson, who came on and replaced him. He's been the one that everyone's been saying, you wait till you see Hitchenson. He's the one coming through. So there's something there between the pair of them. And I think it's their mentality. I think you can have... How many players have we seen that's got ability, but then you get onto the pitch? I mean, we talked about it in ourselves in a very different level. But... that's the difference at the top levels for me. It's all about, can you replicate the ability you've got more often than not? George Pratt is somebody who's come in and gone, I'm not overawed by this. The first 10 minutes at Preston, it was about 400 mile an hour. His head was spinning round, but everybody was kind of doing that. He's then just settled and been so calm, other than looking a bit tired in a couple of games. I think he's looked our best centre-half. Matty Leland comes in. The game started really well. Your first couple of touches is always important, has a couple of good ones, and actually settles straight into it. So I think it's his mentality that's been his biggest strength here. But if we look at the physical and the technical attributes that he's got now, he's tall, he's good in the air, he's brave in the tackle, he's not sluggish. I think he uses the ball really, really well down that side. He's naturally left-footed.
He's not scared.
He's not at all. And I've seen him, the one for me that shifted from this lad's come in and is, wow, aren't we lucky how he's filling a gap for us, to a very different opinion was when he marked Kiefer Moore. Kiefer Moore, I've seen at Ewell Park for 10 years, rip centre-halves and who, whatever, and bully them. George Pratt, 22, was not bullied 1 ounce. Kiefer Moore's an international footballer, albeit it's only Wales. But he is somebody he's playing in the Premier League. He's very good at what he does. He's the classic, too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League. And he didn't get a sniff. There was once he got past George Pratt, once. And that, for me, shifted it. And from then on, I'm looking at him in a different light. I think it's his shirt to lose now.
Well, the biggest compliment I think I could give him is if you just dropped in and watched Rovers right now, you would not even think that George Pratt had not played for Rovers before.
No,
a few weeks ago, and not even played at this level. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can give, is that you've got a big lad there that is taking control of situations like a seasoned pro. And that's all I want from my defenders. I'm old school. I don't want all this fancy take a touch, take someone on, bring it into the dribble into the second level and pass. But I actually believe he can do that, and eventually he will then be able to read certain situations a little bit more to probably do that. And I've seen it in glimpses. But I think the biggest compliment is he doesn't look out of place. And if anything, he's probably been our bigger performer out of the majority of that team. And this is why it's feeding into the tweet that I put out off my personal account, not off the podcast, of saying we finally gave youth a chance. And that's what you need to do. They play under a different pressure, like I said earlier, but also they probably have a little bit more grit and determination in them. Whilst they might play with nerves, they've probably got a little bit more grit and determination. I'm really glad you brought their the mental side of the game as well a little bit more, because you are talking, if you've got two players that have captained their teams, you know they've got something about them. You've just got to give them a chance. And hopefully this advertises back to the higher ups. Give our players a chance. If you're trying to build a squad by signing all these randoms, like like you said, it's a lot. I think it's a bigger risk than just bringing in a player from your youth system that's just that little bit older and probably ready for that exposure.
Yeah, but you're looking at players like, I feel like I'm bashing Dejan Deniva here, but you've got Dejan Deniva. Not been playing that well, hasn't played that much football in his career either. How is he going to be better prepared than Jake Beaty, who's been at the club for years and has played in League Two and did pretty well? Brandon Powell in the 21s, confidence sky high, been a left back, playing left wing back, now playing right midfield sometimes, scoring goals for fun. And somebody who, the other thing we've got to mention here is, particularly with Matty Leland, he was stood where I was stood weeks ago. So he knows that actually this club, I know what they need. I know what the fans want. I know what they don't. And it's his dream to play in a Rovers shirt. Not, I mean, all right, I'm sure if Man United, Arsenal at some point come in for him, he's going to go, I have a bit of a better chance of winning things there.
Which is fine.
And I get that. But his dream when he's growing up is the same as you and me. He wants to put the blue and white shirt on. So he's going to do everything he can to make the most of that opportunity.
They've got they've got a little bit more hunger. They'll give you that little bit more energy. They will dig that little bit deeper than someone from Belgium that, as much as they love taking the wage and they will be professional, I get that. But we all do it at work. If you get a good manager and you're at a company you really want to be at, you work that little bit harder. It's just natural. And that's what we're seeing. And let's be honest, let's talk about Harry Leonard. You've got Harry Leonard going off doing what he's doing. And we said, well, why not let Gay go, who isn't doing it, and keep a Harry Leonard that's going to give you that little bit more and shows you a little bit more. And that's where the frustration lies then, when we have these young players coming through and performing, and then they're kind of put to one side. Do you think this is now a change of ethos that we're going to start seeing?
I hope so, because when you've got players coming in from abroad, Henriksen, it takes time to adjust to the level. Some players will never, ever cope with the speed, the ferocity, and the nature of the Championship. The academy lads know that. They do that. All right, 21s football's, a completely different ballgame. But they know, particularly if Jake Batty's been playing at Accrington Stanley in League Two, you will know whether he can do the battling side of it. I think they've got to look a little bit more and say, well, it's worth a chance. What have you got to lose? And I think Adam Owen at the fans forum last time he was asked the question, because we were really concerned. There was a spell where they weren't even on the bench. And he said you need to have a settled team from his perspective. And what he was talking about was a style of playing and people knowing their jobs before you can bring them in. That is coming to fruition, albeit it's been forced a bit by injuries. But the rest of the team know their jobs. So in training, you're just slotting somebody into it. And I think that's fair. I think we might see it a bit more now, sneaking in. Ismaël's obviously willing to give them a chance. I do think that there's potentially an element of, well, I know Gay's not going to fit in my plans, so whack him out. What's the point? I think the frustration with Harry Leonard, and I know we talk about this a lot, it is vast. Ismaël talked the other day, and I quoted him last week, saying if somebody's doing it in League One, they can do it. And he was talking about Conor O'Riordan. But for me, you're looking at Harry Leonard. There's a I've just bookmarked an response that one of the Peterborough fans said, we've had plenty of good strikers at Posh that have played championship level. I can confidently say we've only had a couple in the last decade look as good or better than him. If we weren't fighting relegation, he'd have scored even more. He's absolutely ridiculous. And the frustration for Harry Leonard and for me was people wrote him off because of his injuries. Oh, he's too injury prone. He never did it anyway. You look into when he actually did it. He did. His goals to minutes ratio was very good in the championship. And his injuries were not related. They weren't somebody like an Owen Beck at the minute whose hamstring kept going and going and going. They were unrelated, unfortunate injuries. They're ones that he could have bounced back from. But the other thing that really bugged me was we were playing a style of football where we wanted to press high, and Matt Gay didn't fit into that style. Harry Leonard did. So even if he wasn't going to score you 20 goals and that was your concern, he fit the style of play better than Gay did. So even if he wasn't your end goal, the decision to keep one above the other was ridiculous. He should have been loaned out if they didn't want to play him. And we'd have been looking now and going, oh my God, he's scoring, he's playing. Get him back in January. I can't wait to have him back. Gaze out the door, job done. And we'd have been excited about it.
It's such a strange decision. Such a strange
one
decision.
that I will never understand, I'm afraid.
No, I mean time will tell. We don't know. I mean, we could. I don't want to wish bad luck on Harry Leonard at all. In fact, I want the complete opposite. But you don't know how his career is going to go. But it started very well. It's very frustrating. The only reason we brought it up is because obviously we've had a couple of young players start this game and do really well. But we did have a couple come on. Now, I just want to say that I thought Henriksen came on and did it was one of his better performances, in my opinion. It was alcohol-fueled when I was watching this game. Baraggi, I don't know why. I've just got this feeling about Baraggi. I just love him. He's just got this, I don't know, demeanor about him. He's going to get you off your seat. I think his decision making is probably a little bit better than other people that we've seen of that ilk of being skillful and strong. I'm quite excited about Baraggi. I'll ask you his opinion in a second because I also want your opinion on how you thought Hitchen did. And is it Dalmini?
Nathan Dlamini.
Okay. So talk about those four subs, because we know about Ryan Hedges coming on. Ryan Hedges is God. We know he's God. But the other ones, obviously. Talk to me about those as individuals.
Well, you're right. Ryan Hedges did come on and do Ryan Hedges things. Baraggi, weird one. I smile when I talk about him. I smile when I see him on the pitch. Almost in a gay way, because you watch him and you think, this guy's just loving life. But there's more there. Gay, it was almost comedy value sometimes, and something you didn't know quite what he was going to do. Baraggi, I watch him, and there was a point against Oxford where he came from the, as you're looking at it on the telly, the touchline near where the bench is, and he cut inside. Didn't even seem to break into a full stride, but he was faster than them, quicker than them, stronger. He almost looks like an adult playing 21's football sometimes in his physicality. Barged past him and fired a shot with some ferocity. I thought, wow, the power in that shot, where's that come from? And you just watch him sometimes. You think it's almost too easy for him. But you've got to see him put it together now, because I've seen him after 20 minutes look like he's absolutely blowing out his ass. He's got to get his energy levels up to standard, and that's going to be my big question.
Well, yeah, we appreciate why, don't we?
Yeah, and I think that what he's like when he starts a game, what he's bringing in that sense, they're my question marks about him. He's clearly got technical ability. He's clearly got vision when he's on the pitch. He's got strength. He's got a willingness to have a shot, a confidence in himself. I shouldn't even be playing at this level. You can just see it emanating from him. I want to see it put together soon. I thought Henriksen came on. I like Henriksen's willingness to run beyond. He wants to run beyond. He's to say he must be about 3 stone wet through. He loves getting stuck in. He's a bit dirty. I like that. I think there's something in Henriksen. And there does tend to be, when you see somebody come from Scandinavia, they tend to settle in English football better they're not bothered by the rain. Probably helps as well. But he just looks like somebody, there's something there with him. I can see what they've bought and I can see why. He's just very, very raw. But Hitchen got 20 minutes out of position, not a right wing back. He's a centre half. We've seen him obviously, play before, but just slotted in again. It was like, oh, Leland's gone off. All right, yeah, I could do that too. And again, it's a mentality thing, being able to come in and just be confident enough in yourself. I don't know what they're doing in the academy, but mentally they must be putting some work into these players. And they have just come in and gone, well, I should be playing. And I do think, when I've seen Hitchen and I've seen Max Davis, I think they will have looked at Leland and particularly George Pratt, who's not played that much in the 21s, or he's not been as highly rated throughout the ranks. He's been a captain, but he's kind of been he's the biggest, he's the strongest, that kind of feeling. I think they'll have looked at George Pratt playing and gone, I'm better than him. They might never have vocalized. I do think they will
raise their game a little bit.
think they will looked at that and gone, I should have got a chance ahead of him. I'm better than him. I've always been higher rated. He's just ahead of me because he's older. And I think there'll have been a little bit of, you watch. I think there'll be a bit of that around it.
A bit of motivation, a little bit of an ego boost, a little bit of an ego, sore ego thing.
But also, Mike, looking at it and going, the way he's performing, well, geez, we actually should be playing because he's doing that and I'm better than him. And I think there'll be a bit of this going on now. And I think there'll be an element of lads in the academy that now is the time. Don't overload it. Keep that core of confidence. But I think there'll be a bit about them that's George Pratt will have given a lot of them confidence in the nicest possible way. He isn't the one that they've been looking at for years going, wait till he gets in the first team. He's almost been like Ryan Edwards always was, where it was, yeah, you can see why he's there, but and he's come in and done it. So I think they'll all be looking now going, well, if he can, I can. And it will have really had a positive impact on them.
And what about the, obviously, Dlamini? It's
Dlamini. It's not an easy thing.
Dlamini. I will get it. I will get it.
Yeah.
He obviously only had a few minutes. Was it? Did you see his movements? Anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, he came on. He looked nippy. He looked like he wanted to get involved. He didn't look somebody who was overawed. I think the thing with him is he's somebody who doesn't play all the time in the 21s. He generally comes off the bench for the 21s. So I do think there was a little element of potentially in the nicest possible way of making the numbers up a little bit. Mullicky Matthews, for example, is ahead of him. Harrison Wood's ahead of him. Brandon Powell, previously a left back, is definitely ahead of him. But when
why him instead of Tyjon then?
Well, so Tyjon has been playing, hasn't he, in the 21s most of the season. He's then dropped into the 18th for the Youth Cup game. So I think it's almost been a bit of circumstance that Dlamini's been on the bench. I don't think the plan was really to bring him on. But then you're 2-0 up at home. Do you know what? Come on, mate. We'll get you on the pitch. I think it's more of one of them. Might be wrong. Whereas I think Hitchen is somebody that he's one of the next in line. But yeah, I might be wrong. But I think I've seen a number of people get into the 21s ahead of him, and he's maybe he will prove me wrong, but I don't think he will be somebody who's featuring in and around the first team unless, and this happens with footballers, you get the opportunity again next week and he goes to Middlesbrough, he comes on and bags, he's going to be on the bench, isn't he?
That's the thing. Some of them it clicks with men's football more than the younger one because they feel things differently. Yeah. The speed might be a little bit different for them. If they are nippy and they're playing against big centre-halves compared to maybe younger, more agile centre-halves, sometimes it can click for them. So you don't know. I know that we've kind of dotted around talking about this game because we have seen these young players, and it does expose us to a different side of Rovers that we haven't seen over the last few months, and I think we're just excited to see that. Before we leave this game, any 3-word reactions that caught your eye?
Yes, Gudders, I mean, this was always going to get in. Anyone who wants to get their 3-word reviews, just play to the audience. Picks outclasses Yuri. Rick Griffiths won at home, and Matt Cooper, somebody we've not really talked about. Matt Cooper, we haven't, but Todd, expletive, Campwell. How did you think Campwell played?
I thought Campwell. So this is what I was saying earlier with the Marishta Campwell thing of Campwell being in the number 10. I've been saying I wanted to see Campwell a little bit deeper, but I thought he pulled the strings again. I thought he's playing the kind of role I would like to see a little bit further back, but I felt like he played like he trusted people more. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't think he trusts his knee very much. I mean, there was a point where he went down in the first half.
I don't think anyone does anymore.
No, and there wasn't much that kind of happened, was there, with his knee? And yet he was holding it, and I think that's in his head a bit. He's not fully going into challenges like he would, but in a weird way, it probably helped because rather than trying to overdo it, I think he simplified his game. I think Todd Campbell's got more ability than probably anyone on our team. I don't think that's a massive secret, but sometimes he can overdo it. Sometimes he feels like the pressure's on him to be the main man. But it was really interesting, wasn't it? He didn't seem to feel that pressure. So that tells me, compared to the beginning of the season, he is trusting Good Johnson to finish. He's trusting Marishta. And he links up really, really well with Marishta. And that must come from training where they look at not only just practicing, but where you look at somebody and you go, I can trust you with the ball. He trusted Campwell with the ball. There was a lot of trust. And I think that's the word I would use with him. I think he just makes such a difference, doesn't he?
He does. And you can tell he reminds me of Dak. And obviously Campwell's career should have gone way high. Dak's career obviously definitely should have gone way higher. But there are people that think so far ahead. If you're not on the same page as them, they have to turn back and slow their game down. And that's what frustrated me with Campwell, because I felt like he had the ability to kind of adjust his game a little bit for the players around him. And I'll be honest, he was probably looking around this squad this season and thinking, why am I here? And I wouldn't be surprised if he was given the captaincy as kind of a little bit of a, we'll make you captain if you stay, mate, because he was probably looking around thinking, hang on, we built something last year. I've trusted my career with you guys, and this is what's happening. But yeah, it did seem to make a difference. I do hope it now builds something, because we are now going into a couple of games where we could get something. There's no reason why we can't go and get something in these 2 games now. And I hope that this ethos of putting in a couple of young players that are a little bit more energetic and giving them an opportunity, I hope they carry that on, because Borough away without Sam Gallagher isn't a foregone conclusion. And Wednesday away, okay, they've had the odd results, but we should be going to these places and competing now.
I think. I mean, Middlesbrough, I don't know if you've seen them since they've had the new manager, but geez, he talk about not being able to embed a philosophy. He reminds me of Thomason's football, except they're not been as up and down in results. It is all out now. That suits.
I think the Boxing Day thing, I think, is the wild card for me, which is, I forgot to say, sorry, because something popped up as I was talking. It kind of took my eye off what I was saying. And the thing is with Borough, I think that. Do you think the Boxing Day thing is a wild card? Because I kind of think it is sometimes. And when you go away, you can either get tanked or you can actually go and get something. Or do you think it's just a myth?
No, I agree with you. I think it's the crowd's usually a bit flatter. They usually got a sore head and everything. You have more away fans. You have fans that haven't been for a while. You have a weird mix of fans sometimes. There's more families, and it's not necessarily as raucous at times. It's a weird atmosphere on Boxing Day. But I think it'll suit us because Middlesbrough should be the favourites by rights. But I think they'll have a bit of pressure on them. There'll be people coming wanting to be entertained. They've not had a clean sheet for 11. But I think us playing on the back foot and talking it up and going on the counter really works for us. And I go back to it. I think you keep a clean sheet for 20 minutes, the game could get a bit stop-start, a bit whingy. I have as much confidence in us going away to a Middlesbrough as I do at home to a Millwall. I think actually it can really suit our game. Make it a bit minging, make it a bit stop-start, do your business from set pieces if we can. And we've had a decent period of time between the games. So I think we'll go up there and I think we'll at least get a draw. I really do. I think the Boxing Day thing, you're right. I think there's something in it, and I think it'll help us on this occasion.
I hope it does, because it's getting really frustrating now. Because whenever we get a result, everyone else gets a result around us. Like, I mean, Sheffield United, they've pulled themselves together. They're on general form, but they won. Swansea won. Charlton won. Obviously, we won. And you just think, just every time I look at the league, we're between 17th and 20th, no matter what the result. And it's really frustrating, because if we can go and get 4 points out of these games, which I know is a lot to ask, you know, you're straight away looking that little bit further up, and then it builds on then to the Wrexham New Year's Day game. And I'm just hoping that we get something here. I mean, it's a Rovers thing that we'll go to Borough and win 3-0, and then we'll go to Wednesday and lose 3-0. It's kind of what we do. I wanted to bring up a little bit of a topic that I saw bounded around social media. Why is it that we seem to struggle against these poorer teams or these newly promoted teams, but yet when we go and play the teams that are actually doing quite well, we do better? Now, I've put it down to the pressure side and preparation. So we play a little bit less pressure against the better sides, and we might be prepared a little bit more, because normally if they're better, well, there's a little bit more knowledge of how to prepare for them. Whereas the poorer sides, I feel like we neglect that a little bit. What's your thoughts?
I think it's easy to coach defending, and you probably focus more of it. I wouldn't say they're more prepared. I think the preparation probably focuses more on nullifying their strengths, and then the crowd. So you feel like you're succeeding a bit more within a game if you're keeping them at bay. Against a Millwall, for example, when they've not got many players, you should be doing that. So that bit's not one of the positives in your head as you're ticking it off through a game, but you're thinking we should be creating more. We expect more of ourselves. And I don't always think we've got the quality to do that. The team that we picked on Saturday, Marishta, Campwell, Ohashi, Hedgie, Johnson, Tronstad, there's quality in that team. That is a different sort of team than we've been putting out, is another side of it. But I think you go to Middlesbrough, I think we've got what we will be looking at, and defenders will be priding themselves. Miller's game's simplified. No one's expecting him to get on the ball and start bringing out defence. It'll be defend your box, win the headers, do not let them get down. And he thrives in that sort of situation. The defence will be a little bit narrower. We're not expected to overextend ourselves too much, but then we know, right, come on, let's make more of it. So I think it's about ticking off mentally successes in the game. What is a success today? Are you keeping a clean sheet? Against Millwall, you should be keeping a clean sheet. So I just think it's that, really. And I think it's been a lack of quality for us then when we've needed to do more in a game, or we've expected ourselves to, just because you're at home, just because you're playing a poorer team. We'll go to Sheffield Wednesday. We will expect that we will be creating loads of chances. If we create 1 or 2 against Middlesbrough, that's not a surprise to us. So we won't be getting ourselves frustrated if it's 50 minutes and we've had 1 shot on target. Against Sheffield Wednesday, we'll expect to be 2-0 up at half-time. And it then just...
And I think that's then the pressure thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So I just look at us, though, and I think, ultimately, we have a lack of quality in our squad, and all those players really found themselves on the pitch on Saturday. And if we can do that more often than we have been able to, we'll get better results.
Well, it's good that we're going in off the back of a win. We're still 6 points above the relegation area. We shouldn't be looking down, but we are. We're 10 points off playoffs, if people are asking. We do still have a game in hand over some, but not all. So it is now a thing where we just need to have a look at rotation, keeping players fresh. I just want us to be prepared. football's all about preparation. We're not good enough just to turn up and just play our way every single time. You do need to have that preparation. And I hope Ismaël's kind of learnt his lesson a little bit with some tactical decisions. I was going to bring up in the Millwall game, I didn't like the fact that we made so many subs so quick, but obviously it paid off. But I really hope that we continue this giving youth a chance. I don't think it works all the time, and I think it can come back and bite you in the arse. But you've got to have that balance. We talked about it before. You've got Picker in there. You've got Tronstad. Against Millwall, they showed their qualities. Campwell showed his qualities, but then you had youth to complement that as well, and that's what I want. I don't want just one or the other. That's what I want, and hopefully we're going to see that in these two games.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you've got the experience we had on the pitch at weekend, you can get away with it a bit more. But I also think we've been doing it anyway, but we've just been doing it with people from abroad. They've been young. Tavares hasn't played much football. All right, yeah, he has made his professional debut, but he's not played that much football. It's not.
But you're adding in an element, an extra element, aren't you? That's the issue. I mean, you're not just playing young players. So you've got young players. That's one element, and then you've got foreign country, different language, different pace, different weather. All these different things that could come in for them that adds to that. There's so many variables there that's why they're not necessarily playing. Plus they're signing, so then we're going to put them under more pressure. We just are. Even Henriksen, we knew as a young lad, we knew he was built for the future, but still he got pelters at times off the fan base because he was a signing. So I think there's a lot of variables there that do change. And I mean, it could have been an arrogance thing from the powers that be saying, well, actually, I want him to be my signings. If we're going to be successful, I want it to be because I've bought those players, I've brought them in. Whereas if it's a young player coming through, that's always looked at as the manager, isn't it?
Exactly. But I mean, one other we're talking about variables. One other thing we have to bring up is I know Sam Gallagher's massively influenced this, but in the last 10 matches against Middlesbrough, they've won 2, drawn 2, and we've won 6. Now, whilst that might not affect the players on the pitch, that will affect the fans. They'll be turning up going, "Oh, it's Blackburn Rovers. Here we go." Yeah. They will, and it will mean that you have to do less in the first 20 minutes. Just keep a clean sheet, and they'll be going, "Here we go again." Blackburn, you know what they're going to do. And you get 30,000 in a stadium and it's full and they start moaning and groaning when you're passing the ball. It has an impact. That will be a variable that will make a difference. Conversely, we'll go to Sheffield Wednesday. It will be, 2/3 full. I think that little bit of momentum of, we need to back the club and we're in admin as dwindled a bit. I think we talked to the guy from Wednesday Till I Die pod when we did the preview of the home game that we'll have to redo. He said basically what's happened is people have come back and gone, there was this massive elation. Yes, we got rid of the owners. And then they realised that they're still crap, realised what they're watching is rubbish, and they're going to lose. And also went, and we've not got new owners yet. So it's a bit of realisation. So you can see how that would happen. And their fans are all, we think we are a splintered fan base. Well, their fans at the minute, some are going, well, actually, if you have Mike Ashley come in and he settles things down and he's going to make a quick profit, well, that's kind of a good thing because a bit like we talked about with Johnson, well, if he's doing well and he's going to get a good outcome for him, that's also a good outcome for us. And then they've got other fans going, no, we want somebody who's going to be a long term. So they're not a united fan base either. Obviously, they're a Wednesday one. But yeah, I think the Middlesbrough game on paper, we should get absolutely sod all from. They're second in the table. They're having a real good run of form. They're doing really well. But I fancy us. I think we're going to get 4 points from the next 2 games.
Well, they've only scored 33. They've conceded 24. I mean, it's not the kind of goal difference that, should be second in the league like they are, but they're just pulling results together. And that's the key thing. They're doing what they need to do to get results. But I think the wild cards are, 1, like we say, Boxing Day, and 2, exactly what you said. We've had some real good results against them. And there is going to be that in the back of their mind of, oh, geez, we're playing Blackburn Rovers that tend to come here and get a result. I mean, we joke all the time. Can we bring Sam Gallagher in for a game? But we've got good Johnson now.
That's exactly it. We've scored first 4 out of the last 5 games as well. I think if we go and do that at Middlesbrough, we'll not lose the game.
You've called it. I love it. I love it. Well, we'll be recording on a different day next week because of we said that we was going to adjust it a little bit around the fixtures and around our schedule. But we're going to record on Tuesday the 30th next week because that means then the Sheff Wednesday game is fully finished. We've managed to watch it a couple of times and sober up, and we can obviously have a good watch of that. But Mark, I think we've enjoyed this week, haven't we?
It's always good, isn't it, when you have a home win? Who'd have thought it? But yes, I think there's a clear pathway there for us now, though, as we head into January. It's given us a little bit of breathing space that we needed. We've got Tronstad back. Campwell's back on the pitch. Big man Ryan's back. Baraji's real. We've got youngsters coming into the team. There's lots of positives. There are all the other things that's going on that we know all about, and that dominates the conversation. But there are positives going on here. We'll take a good following up to Middlesbrough, possibly take a decent following to Sheffield Wednesday. It's Christmas. All we need now is Santa Gisted to go and give us a contract for, I think, a new contract for Toth. As much as Pears is doing okay. We've not even mentioned Pears. I think a new contract for Tronstad. And you know what? I'm cracking the bubble open. Rudy can do no wrong at that point for me until I realise he's going to go and raid the Bargate basement from the Belgian League again.
I hope not. I hope it's more big prezzies than stocking fillers this Christmas for us. The pair situation, I'm going to wait till Tote's back. Nice. And then I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to review how Pears has done. But yeah, let's hope that it's going to be a great Christmas for everyone. Everyone, look after yourselves. Have a lovely time. Don't do anything silly. Just everyone behave yourselves, yeah? Mark, are you going to behave yourself?
I never do anything other than that, Mark. I don't know what you're suggesting. Listen, Christmas, things will get a little bit silly now and again, but that's why we love it.
Exactly. Well, everyone, have a great Christmas. Don't do anything silly. Be kind to each other. And hopefully there'll be 6 points next time we're talking. So until then, have a good one.